Luscombes faced the challenge of how to deal with the COVID-19 lockdown and how they would embrace the digital space and changing consumer behaviour. They approached the challenge with a newly designed MTC website and a full SilverBullet e-commerce solution. Sam Luscombe tells us more about this and their approach to taking the business digital.
Retailing for us changed almost overnight back in March 2020, and obviously with the lockdown restrictions coming in straight away, that caused a massive change to our business. But actually it was a change that we'd sort of been planning for. Obviously we didn't expect the pandemic to make it so sudden, but the gradual changes in consumer behaviour had been coming for a little while. So immediately overnight, the lack of ability to come into a showroom forced consumers to interact with us in a completely different way, and that meant we had to adapt and fast forward everything that we planned over the next sort of 6 months to do it instantly as much as possible, really. For us, it's definitely accelerated. We'd set off our journey in this sort of digital modernisation, if you like, probably 18 months before that. But it was a slow burn. Initially we started off with the idea of creating more and more content, with the ability for customers to consume more and more content before they decided to sort of put their hand up and say, right, I'm ready to interact with a dealer. What the pandemic did was allowed us, with different technology platforms and partners, to actually get people to go further down that process online without the need to get in touch with a dealership or with a salesperson, and that was very, very important to do, especially last year. So in terms of online adoption for car buying, I think we're in a transitional phase at the moment. At the moment, you've got a small percentage of people who will buy a car 100% online without any interaction from the dealership or its staff. Now that is a small percentage. We've seen that from the past 12-18 months. Even when that was the only way, people still wanted to interact with a human at some point during that process. Now by 2025, I think we're going to be in a range. There's going to be a lot of people who still want to deal with a salesman or want to see the dealership in person and do most of that journey in person. That doesn't mean it'll all be in person, because everybody starts some form of that journey online, whether that's research. But I think what we'll see is where most of the journey or most of the interaction is currently done in the dealership at the moment, when it gets to the latter stages of that car buying process, by 2025, I think we're already seeing it, that there'll be a lot more of that done online, and the crunch will come when people are ready to buy, just for that extra bit of trust and transparency and confidence at the very end. So I think everybody in the motor trade is currently aware of the challenges around used car stock, but not only used car stock, new car stock as well, for many manufacturers. Certainly in the short to medium term, we don't envisage that changing a great deal. So for us, the main priority at the moment is to maximise everything we can out of the stock that we can get. Now that means for us making sure that every customer who comes onto our website and interacts with us is confident to pay the price, and a fair price, but not necessarily a low price for every car. For us, it's about maximising the profit per unit on the cars that we can get, whilst maintaining customer satisfaction, and we do that by ensuring that the customer is absolutely confident in the cars that we provide. And while we can do that in person, actually we get far more eyeballs if we can take that sort of trust and transparent view that we have in person and put it online. Because we see 10 times more people, maybe 100 times more people in a week via our digital channels than we do in person. So obviously 2020, massive challenges and massive changes for the industry. For us, that meant a massive amount of staff retraining in the first instance, to make sure that everybody was set up to deal with this new type of digital lead. on the 28th of March, I think it was, there was no physical walk-ins, so every lead was a digital lead effectively. So we had to train the staff in how to deal with those different types of lead. Previously, maybe before the pandemic, when somebody could walk in or could phone up, an email lead or a digital lead was seen as a lower quality of lead because it required less commitment from the customer. So we had to train the staff in how to deal with those sorts of leads. And while technology is a massive plus, a lot of new systems mean a lot of new back-end training for how to use platforms. Innovations, and there are plenty. We've worked with MTC, a website provider, to make sure that our website is absolutely cutting edge in terms of the content, but that requires a lot of our staff to make sure that the content that we're putting onto that site is reflective of the experience that we want our customers to do. And obviously we've worked with SilverBullet, which is a massive, massive change for our staff, but it's a massive tool in their armory to see when a customer decides to interact in person at whatever point that journey may be. We know the car they've looked at, we know the part exchange valuation that we've given them, we know whether they're looking at cash or finance, and our salespeople are in a far, far better position to interact with that customer on their terms at the point that they are in their journey, not taking them back to part one. A digital sale is the most welcome sort of sale in the dealership. There's nothing. When we went live with SilverBullet back in May last year, within a couple of weeks we'd had the first fully digital sale with absolutely no touch points before with a member of our sales staff, and it was at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. There is nothing more satisfying than selling the car without really doing any work. Now, that's not strictly true because the work goes in before. You do all that work to make somebody comfortable enough to buy a car without asking the questions. But it certainly makes our experience as a dealership far, far easier because we do the work once and many customers can see it, as opposed to waiting for that customer to get involved and doing it on a one-to-one basis. So in terms of a digital sale, absolutely, if every customer was happy to interact like that, it'd be great for us. We appreciate that at the moment it's a very small minority, but over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we envisage that the way the consumer behaviour has changed throughout the pandemic and moving forward, that's going to become more and more frequent, and with a higher percentage of customers happy and comfortable to go further down the line fully online. So SilverBullet's been really helpful in bridging the gap between online and physical, in the sense that our sales teams have got access to a wealth of data that they never could see before. So now, allowing the customer to do far more and interact with us on a more personal level, in the fact that we can see what they've been looking at, we can see what they've got to part exchange, and we can see how far through that process they've actually gone. It gives us far more information to steer when they come in or when they make contact with our actual salespeople as to whereabouts they are in that process. So if we can see that they've gone through, they've chosen a car, they've done a part exchange appraisal, they've done a full finance application, they've chosen a care package, we get the sense, and even if they don't submit an actual lead at that point, when further down the line, whenever that may be, we know that customer is far more ready to buy, and that wealth of knowledge is far more useful for our sales staff than just a phone call or a walk-in with no prior knowledge, because then they have to start again and extract all that from the customer, and the customer doesn't want to have to do that. They want to come in and you know exactly where they are. I think an e-commerce journey is far more customer-centric than any other way. One of the biggest tips that I've been saying, or one of the things I've been trying to get into our sales staff throughout the last 12-18 months has been you've got to meet the customers where they are and do things on their terms. We've used WhatsApp, we've used FaceTime, we've used whatever it would take, because that's what the customers are now used to and now expect. It wants to be on their terms, and allowing somebody to go on and stack a deal at 10:30 at night, 1 in the morning, 6 in the morning, whenever they want, is what they want. It's what they're used to from other industries. So it's one thing that That online journey puts the power back in the customer's hands, and we jump in when they need us. And that's the critical part. We're there when they need us, and hopefully we can do enough so that they only need us when they're either ready to buy, or we've sort of just missed that one little quirky question that we can't answer to everybody. But that is great for our business, because it means we're not wasting our time on what's the service history on this car, or what's my part exchange worth. They can do that on their own terms. There's a wealth of different companies out there now offering digital solutions, so having a partner that is able to work with you and understand the needs of your business is massive. The off-the-shelf solution, if you like, can be very restrictive, so therefore customer support is massive. And one thing we found with SilverBullet, initially we said, right, great for used cars, we can see the value in this, but as part of our strategy right from the very start was to make every car available. Why should a customer be treated any differently if they're looking at a new car versus a used car? And the ability for the guys at SilverBullet to be able to take that understanding on and run with it and sort of work with that has been really important for us. And it's really nice to have those conversations with people who just get it. In 5 years' time, it's going to be an evolution of where we are now. Now, anything that we put out there in any communication is our strapline. We won't sell you a car, we will help you buy one. Now, that's been our tagline for 10 years, and customers in the local area absolutely love it, because it instills that trust factor, because they know they're not going to get the sales process, they're not going to get rammed into them, what would it take to buy it today, all that sort of stuff. Now, that's great in person, but it's very, very difficult to transition online, and that's the biggest challenge we've got for our next 5 years. We want our digital experience to absolutely mirror that. We won't sell you a car, we will help you buy one. And that's where this all fits in. We have a really, really helpful website. It provides all the information that they need. It provides a really, really helpful experience that they can go as far or not as far as they want, and we're always there, we're always accessible. So we're either able to allow them to go as far as they want. They can go to the first step, they can go to the last step, they can go as far as buying the car and having it delivered to home. We're just there to help them do that, and that's where the next 5 years have got to really, really improve, and we're on that journey, but it never ends.